a show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on JTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. All right, Shereen, I cannot come to Virgin Gorda and not find you to talk a little bit about, I know what your passion is, music. I know for some time you have been talking about wanting to see Calypso come back the way it used to be or even better. Have you been able in your own to do anything to help that industry to come back?
Well, Kathy, thank you for having me once again. I'll say this to you. I believe that we must now start in the schools with the young people. And so what I did a few months ago, I reached out to the schools, and there are some children that are interested. There are teachers that are very hyped and interested as well. And so that is where I think we need to start. Initially, we were pushing to try to do something for Easter, but I felt that the time was too short and we wanted to make sure that whatever we do, that is done literally almost to perfection. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do too is to make Calypso a year-round event, not just at Easter or at BVI Emancipation. It needs to be a continuous effort on everyone's part. So initially, we've dealt with the schools on Virgin Gorda, and I've reached out to other persons on Tortola and Anegada and Jasper Dyke to say, this is what we want to do. This is where we want to go with this thing. Involve the teachers, involve the music teachers specifically. And, you know, being a musician out there and a singer, I know all of them very well. So I reached out to them personally, and the excitement is there. And we do have at the Brigado Flax, they have a performing arts group as well. And I was there for an event, and there was a poem that they recited. And I said to the teacher in charge of that performing arts group, that's a good calypso. So out of that came, you know, the idea. So we put stuff out on Facebook. I sent a little flyer out to the different school principals and everything, saying to them, listen, check your kids, see who's interested. And we have there's a small group of them that are interested. And initially, there was some hesitancy simply because they wanted to know whether it's a competition or not. And I said, no, in the first instance, what we want to do is to be able to teach the young people the art form of Calypso and have a showcase where we showcase their abilities, get them comfortable on the stage, and then we will move forward from there. So you're going to be hearing a lot more of, like I said, I reached out to persons on Tortola and Anegada and Jasper Dyke as well, because the focus now would be for the 70th. We need to see Calypso back on the stage in the village for Emancipation Festival in some form.
I think I take a quick look through the calendar, but I don't think I see a Calypso competition on that.
I have not seen it either, and I have to make a call to the chairman, but we have been speaking, him and I, about what we want to see and what can happen for Calypso at the 70th anniversary of BVI Emancipation. So something is in the works, and like I said, it's been a conversation.
Okay. I know you are not the only Calypsonian that, you know, is concerned about that art form staying alive in the Virgin Islands, and considering, like you spoke about, the 70th, has there been any discussion with probably other Calypsonians and see what you guys can come up with together to see, you know, even if you have to put on a little private something somehow?
Well, yes, there have been discussions, informal discussions mainly, but there have been discussions with some of the other Calypsonians. Some of them reached out to me after seeing the flyer for the schools and so forth. And there are persons that are interested. As a matter of fact, I met one of them at the agriculture exhibit in Tortola yesterday, and he said he has a lot of songs. He has songs since Irma. So he has a whole inventory of songs, whether he will sing them himself or whether he will have other persons singing the songs. So there is an interest from a very small core group of Calypsonians, but I think that once word gets out there, that will widen the amount of interested persons.
Okay. Oh, and I just recall there is Virgin Gorda Got Talent coming this weekend, and that's a great platform for those young people as well as yourself to come out and bust some lyrics.
Well, yes, it is. I think they mainly try to focus on the younger people, which I think is important. And I'm not sure, I haven't heard of what that lineup is going to look like, but it has always been a very exciting event, whether they're singing calypso, rap, reggae, gospel, or playing instruments. It is an important aspect of building the talent capacity in Virgin Gorda and throughout the territory.
I remembered, I can't recall the event it was, but on stage with you were two young people, and I really admire them. And I love to see where Cal J is right now. My God. And then you have Miss Teen.
Yes.
BVI.
Yes.
What's happening with them? I know that you had taken them under your wings at some stage.
Well, yes, I think you probably saw them at Easter Festival last
It was
year.
since last year.
I believe so, and there was
already?
something else that we
Yes.
did, but I can't recall it right now. But yes, my focus with It's a Secret Band, which is a band that my husband and I formed. And as many people might know, he's toured the world. He's been to Africa, Japan. He's toured with a lot of major Caribbean artists. And our goal is to promote the talent that we have here. So we picked up Toria and said, listen, you want to come and
Toria
bust a
Price,
couple of songs with us, Toria Price, Miss Teen. And I was so impressed with Cal J at the event at the college. I can't remember the name of the event, where I believe Toria won that competition before it was put on by Youth Affairs and Sports.
Yeah, that
Yes,
that
and
competition.
I
yeah.
mean, I was blown away with his versatility because he can sing anything. So, we called him up and said, listen, you need to come over and do a couple tunes with us. So whenever the opportunity is there, and now he was doing stuff on his own, but whenever we get the opportunity to pull him in, we do. And of course, we also have my son, Mystique, who is on the drums with us in that band. He is performing on the VG Got Talent with a small group, but he won't be playing drums, he'll be playing steel pan
Oh.
because he is a multi-instrument musician. So that is important for us that the young people get the exposure. So we are going to be performing on Easter Monday in the village, and I will be in the background. The young people are going to be in the forefront doing their thing, and we want to be able to showcase them. And Kathy, I must say that we are in the process of building a recording studio.
I was just going to ask about that because I know we talk so many
Yes.
times, about these little things, and they keep coming back as we have the discussion.
Right,
The
and
studio.
that studio is called Anva Productions is the name of the business, where we put Virgin Gorda and Antigua together.
Oh,
So Anva, and we're getting there. We're close. It's been a very long, hard struggle, but nothing good comes easy. And when you're trying to build out of pocket, it takes a little longer. But we're closer than we were before, and we've opened that up to young people as well. And I've said it at assemblies at the schools and at different events at churches. Listen, when we're up and running, we want you to come. It's not something that we're doing for profit. We want to be able to get young people out there, showcase them, see what type of talent they have, because you just never know who might break that ceiling. And so it is something that we're passionate about, and we want to continue to do that in the BVI.
What's your thought? Very often we hear young people say that, the older folks don't want us to do the kind of stuff that we want to do. They're into the type of rap and the different type of reggae that, matches their era. They're the Z generation. And sometimes we're stuck in whatever generation we are. And, more and more as we interact with these young people, we realize that this space is for them. And, we have to come online with the things that they love. How are you in the little space that you have evolving in a sense to be accommodative to the things that they like when it comes to music?
Well, the thing is, I think it is important that they understand the history of music, and and be exposed to what was out there before. But like I would say to Tori on a regular, she'll say, well, what do you think about this song? I'll say, well, what do you think about this song? Is it something that you love to do? Is it something that you want to do? You're the one that's going to be singing it.
And
So,
performing.
and performing. So you have to love it. It's not about me liking it. Whether I like it or not is immaterial. It's whether you like it and you're comfortable performing it. And that's what I will say. But at the same time, I'll tell you, sometimes at home, my son will be moving through the house, Mystique, and he'll start singing some song. And I'll be like, wait a minute. Where do you know that song from? Because that song is, he's 17. That song is old. And he'll be like, oh, well, I heard it on one of my games on Xbox. So I was like, okay. And that too gives them that exposure to be able to blend the old and the new and to transition into their own particular style and not imitate anybody. They can create their own type of music. And that's what you really want them to do. So I'm not against rap music or any type of music. Music, I just love music. And, I'll tell you, when we were going to school in St. Croix, Sharon and I, that's when the rap era started in the 70s and early 80s. And we used to sing those rap songs off the tip of our tongue, and we would sing every single lyric. It has evolved, but I understand that the young people have their own way and they have their own passions, and we have to let those passions be released.
Okay, I want to ask you. This one might be a little controversial, but it's topical right now. The type of music, the lyrics. Some people are now trying to say certain artists should not come in certain places, or kids should be controlled when they are listening to music online because of certain lyrics that sends that violent message as we would interpret. And when you talk with these producers, we talk with the person singing it or even the person's listening it, they're saying, no, this is not necessarily XYZ meant this way. It's just that you guys cannot interpret it because, whatever. What are your thoughts about what we hear in some music that are out there on all platforms, and the producer singers are the super popular ones?
Well, I'll tell you, Kathy, I can remember my grandmother from Antigua, my mother's mother, when she would visit years ago. And we were always a musical family. My parents were the biggest promoters. When you hear Born in Flames, Arrow, Sparrow, Shot, Swallow, all of them coming, they were coming to perform on this same property here, what is now Fisher's Cove. And sometimes we'll be going through the house and our grandmother will say, I don't want to hear no better music in here. That thing is
Benna?
evil. Benna.
What's
The
better?
Benna music is the same Calypso that evolved into soca, so forth. And so you had that happening from back then with some of the lyrics that persons at the time felt were maybe too sexual in nature, and those sort of
Violent
too
or
exactly. And I believe that you have to bring up your children to know right from wrong. I am not in any way encouraging lyrics that tell people to do something that is wrong, but the children are exposed. They go to the movies and they're seeing these things on the
They ain't
movies.
even reaching to the movies.
That is
They're
true.
right on the little
They're right
devices.
on the devices and they're seeing it. I think the upbringing of our children is important. And yes, there's some children that will do whatever they want, irregardless of what their parents instill in them, but it has to be a continuous process. They need that support. They need to feel like they're loved and that they're supported. Whether that parent has $1 or $1 million, there's still ways to make your children feel loved and well supported. And I think that that is what is more important because sometimes too, I'll tell you, I will hear a beat or a keyboard playing or something, and I don't pay attention to the lyrics at all. So only when the headlines come out now, I would be like, okay, well, what was going on there? Let me go back now and listen because I'm more into listening to the music and maybe just a hook in a song, what most people would know as a chorus, you know. And sometimes you're not paying attention to some of the lyrics. But I think the love and support that comes out of the homes and the community too makes a major difference in how our young people would behave and how they would interact in the society.
Okay. I'm so guilty of what you just said. Sometimes all you hear is the music, and you just, for me, that's my exercise.
Exactly.
To dance, to whatever. But yes, sometimes we need to pay attention. And that's so important how we instill values in our kids. And you are so right. The preacher's daughters may turn out to do whatever they want because they have a mind of their own. But that solid foundation, you know that you would have laid it. At some point, they'll remember something and say, Daddy had said, Mommy had said, Auntie Neighbor had said this. And so, yeah, as we close out, that special message to our young people, to our parents, to our teachers, to our leaders from Shereen Flax-Charles.
Well, as I mentioned before, Kathy, and it's everybody keeps saying it takes a village to raise a child, but is that really happening? And I think that we need to get back to that. And I always will remember a young man in Tortola that I met by chance. We were getting ready to go to St. John for their festival activities years ago, and we were sitting at Village Key talking about ecstasy, Caribbean ecstasy, the band, and he stopped and he said, I vaguely remember that band, good afternoon. And we started to talk. And that young man at one point was always getting into problems. I got to know his grandmother, and so she would call me and say, listen, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. And it is the support that he needs to the point where my husband would say to me, well, we have another child that none of us knew about. And sometimes, yes, it might be a sacrifice, but you have to make that sacrifice. If you see somebody's child doing something wrong, yes, sometimes the backlash comes from the parent, but you have to say something because if you don't, you're putting that child in a position where it might go so far that they cannot be saved. So our communities have to come together, and the parents, we have to love and support. And I'll tell you, children will be children. They will try to rebel. All of us went through that same period where we were
Test the
rebels in
waters.
our own
We
right.
test the waters, and that's what you does.
Exactly. And so you just have to be able to use that and walk with these children. Because at the end of the day, when I see some of these kids on stage performing, when I see them in the debates, I see them in sports, there's no need. We have to keep them busy. Keep them busy. There might not be a lot of free programs out there, but guess what? I'm like this as a parent. I will not buy a steak. I will not buy even yogurt that is a little bit more expensive to make sure that my child has a music lesson, wants to go to karate, and all of these different things. And that's what we need to do, keep them busy. And that's why I decided to, let's get this Calypso thing back on track. And I was so glad in February to see that Marshall Montano put himself back there because all of the Caribbean islands are having the same issue with Calypso. This thing is not
Just Tortola,
just to the BVI
BVI.
alone. It's just not exclusive to the BVI. It's throughout the whole Caribbean. I've seen it in Antigua, in Trinidad, everywhere. And so I was happy to see that he did that because he didn't have to, he didn't need to. And so we have to use that as encouragement. And I would say to all of the Calypsonians out there, reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook. It's easy to find me. Let's get this thing moving. Let's get Calypso in the schools and let's get our children back on track, because they might start out singing Calypso, but in 10, 20 years, we might see them winning a Grammy for R&B or even a rap song. So we have to focus on. Sometimes, Kathy, it's not always about the money. Everybody, yes, a lot of us are struggling. Most of us are struggling. It's not easy these days, but it can't be about the money alone. An hour of your time to walk with a child is more important than any amount of money, because that 1 hour will save that child, will put that child on a different trajectory in life.
Awesome. Thank you so much as always, Shereen. Sometimes my mouth still wants to go to the honorable, but we have this relation way before politics even
Definitely.
came on the scene for you. Continue to do what you do. You're doing an awesome job. I hope that this recording will touch someone, even if it's just one, is impacted by what you would have said here today.
And Kathy, quickly, if there are any young people out there that hear this message, they too can reach out to me directly.
Okay.
I always answer my phone. I always respond to my emails and my messages, whether on Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. So they too can reach out to me and we can take it from there.
Awesome. Well said. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.